Hey everybody, Stu Smith here, going live. I hope you guys are well. Happy Monday to you. I am going to start off before taking questions with a little intro time while you guys congregate. And listen to this study that I just was reading this weekend, and it's about cursing can improve your physical performance. And after I read the study, actual scientific study, Um, it makes sense. There's so many reasons why, but real quickly, in this particular study, plank pose, grip, and push-ups were tested, which is awesome if you're a Navy sailor who curses like a Navy sailor, because two-thirds of your fitness test will be plank and push-ups. Drop a few timely F bombs in there, and you got yourself a max score potentially. Now, obviously, cursing does not replace smart training and preparation for those type of things, but it may get you over the hump when you need it. Especially if you're missing that 10 to 15%, which evidently cursing improves. It could be the difference between passing and failing or just passing and maxing. So who knows? Give it a shot. Some of the reasons behind it, they say that it increases focus on what is in front of you, almost creates this little mini stress response to where you're pushing in some adrenaline. That adrenaline in turn increases focus. It gets the muscles ready to move, and um, it also has a pain um, reduction feeling. The perception of pain is reduced. So that's why when you hurt yourself, most things that occur is you're cursing, and I guess that has a helpful effect in this. So really interesting psychologically. It helps with uh, mental focus on the specific task, and it does this by a distraction to a degree, so it can kind of dissociate you from that pain a little bit while you're enduring that pain. Like, let's say, a 5-minute plank, for instance. There's a time when it just sucks and becomes mental. But it also inspires a little self confidence and allows the mind and body to kind of work together to get through that obstacle in front of you. Um, and hormonally speaking, you're kind of like in this little fight or flight mode that really serves as a great performance cue. If you don't understand what performance cues are, Google the term. It's a great sports psychology uh, process where you take a word and or your walk up song or whatever, and that kind of puts you into that state of optimal performance, and you can tie that word to that state, and it can definitely help you there. That's proven fact. And as I said, the sensation part, it can reduce the pain and discomfort, you know significantly. So anyway, although it shouldn't be, my final sentence in this says, although swearing may enhance physical performance, in some instances it's crucial to understand that it cannot substitute for adequate training and skill. Depending on the setting, it may even appear unprofessional. So don't give up your workout and rely on your sailor's natural ability just yet. So, in fact, the title of this article is Cursing Like a Sailor May Help You with Your Next PT Test. It'll be up on military.com a little bit later, but I thought I'd share some insight into what I was reading this weekend, and it's kind of fun. Let's see here. All right. Looks like no questions over here on YouTube yet. Got a ton of questions over here on Instagram. Any cider place you recommend to try and snag some MREs to taste them? Yeah, I bought them on Amazon. Go to Amazon or um, you can get them on eBay too. In fact, I bought some on eBay before. Because sometimes when we do our little Hell Week simulator, we'll eat MREs in the surf zone. Usually, be honest with you, I keep a couple of months worth of MREs in my house just as an emergency. You never know what may happen. It's good to have some backup food if you need it. Um, but as it's getting near expiration, I give it to my guys when we're training and we do some actual long rucks that, takes a lunch break and you eat a MRE. So once again, like you're asking, Leo, to test out some MREs. But yeah, I find them online. You can Google it. It's a thing. Hey, Mr. Smith, would it be possible to get a CSS critique from you? Yes, absolutely. Send it. I have summer assessment this summer for EOD. Would love any tips. Yeah, sure. Cody, send it in. Most people just email me, Stu at Stu Smith, or you can just DM me on Instagram. Um, but don't send me a video that you can't see yourself swimming in. Like if all I'm seeing is a head bop up in the water across the other side of the pool, that's not helpful. So I want to be able to see your arms and your legs moving and your glide and all that. So just have your buddy walk alongside the pool with you while you're swimming. Let's see. Good morning, coach. How would you go about training a person coming from no athletic background to get ready for SW selection in under a year? Well, I'd do it all the time. And to be honest with you, I prepare them similarly to someone who's coming from an athletic background. Because what do I do first with that person who's an athlete or a non athlete? Is I assess them. Where their strengths and weaknesses are, that's where we focus on. And believe it or not, even someone who comes in without an athletic background, never played sports, can still be in shape. They can still run. They might even know how to swim, but they're just not in condition to do it. So a lot of it becomes a conditioning drill, progressive, with time. If they're weak, that's going to take a little more time. So we'll do a strength cycle, and we'll progress with our running. And it's a very generic answer, but the individual that I would assess would have a specific approach, if that makes sense. But it all starts with the assessment and figuring out where your strengths and weaknesses are. Like we've had guys who are SEALs right now that never played sports. They did some skateboarding and video games in high school, you know, and just kids, and became SEALs. And I'd say it probably took a year, maybe year and a half. Hey, Stu Smith, how many yards a week should I be swimming to prepare for buds? Well, I will tell you this: we swim 5 days a week, sometimes six, and we get anywhere between 10 and 12,000. And we do 2 swims with fins, sometimes 3, but mostly 2. 3 is a special cardio day. Sometimes we'll do a run, swim, ruck, and that'll be our 3rd swim with fins that week. But even then, swimming with fins is probably around 5,000 a week, and then swimming without fins is probably another 5,000 a week. So that's how we break it up. Tuesday is the CSS critique day. Hey, you don't have to answer for these, I appreciate it though. But yeah, just DM me your stuff. Are the military MRE about the same as civilian MREs? Last question about this. No, they're not. They're similar, but there's some differences. I like the civilian MREs a lot, and so does my family, but they don't like the military MREs very much. I do. I don't seem to mind. I like both of them. Doesn't matter to me. Um, let's see. Hey Stu, what do you recommend for proper recovery? I run every morning, early morning, then straight to work, then head straight to the gym. I'm prepping for SFAF and need to maintain my progression. Um, yeah, I think that's logical. I mean, I can't tell you how many days of my preparation began with early morning workouts, school or work, sports, followed by end of the day gym session or pool session. That's how you do it, man. It's about time management, really. And you got to be sleeping well and eating well if you're going to burn the candle at both ends like that. But it's doable. Eating, sleeping. 95% of your recovery right there. Yeah, you might find yourself cutting back on workouts when I just need to figure out how I can be consistent without risk of injuries. Yeah, there's a big mental factor that can occur for you when you work out, even when you don't feel like it, but you do need to negotiate that process of like, am I injured? Reason why I don't feel like working out, or am I just sleepy or tired? My advice on that one is do the warm up, and if something hurts, you may want to alter the workout after the warm up. If you're just tired and you do the warm up, for me, 9 times out of 10, I feel better after a 10-minute warm up and I'm ready to do the workout, if that makes sense. What have you heard about Marine OCS? How hard is it? It's a good PT Academy. I wrote a program on it. In fact, you go to stewsmithfitness.com, military section, you'll see a Marine Corps OCS TBS program. Been using it for years. A lot of the academy kids use it, and many OCS guys use it, and they do quite well. All right, let me continue on over here. Leonel says, not a question, just want to know. I want you to know, appreciate when you can reply to DM or email. Typically, don't message you saying thank you because I don't want to waste your time. Well, understand, and I appreciate it. Yeah. How can I perfect my CSS? I watch your videos daily, swim daily, and I just can't seem to kick for a glide correctly. I guess more detail. When I scissor kick, I don't know how much force or what to use to get the glide. Because I'm not going anywhere off the kick. Well, here's two things that could be going wrong. One, I have an article on fixing your kick. If you haven't read that, you should, because there's a kickboard drill in it that will help you. The other one is fix your streamline. Is probably the number one most important thing about swimming, because you want to look like a torpedo in the water, not a plow. And I've seen people kick and glide like this, right? Not with their arms straight or their hands apart, and they're just their heads up, right? Tell me which is more streamlined, this or this, right? So you got to get your head down, and you got to arms together, locked out. It's that important. So it could be a streamline issue, definitely a kick power issue. Something we do is we do jumping lunges for creating more force with a scissor kick, and we do swimming with fins to create more force with a scissor kick. Because here's why. It's really hard to mess up a scissor kick with a pair of fins on. Like, I've seen a lot of people confuse what the scissor kick is, and they think it's part scissor, part breaststroke, and they haven't quite figured it out. But you can't do that with a pair of fins on. It forces your top of your foot and the bottom of your foot to kick water and come together and hold that glide. versus one leg being a breaststroke kick and one leg being a scissor kick. If you're rolling over in the middle of your kick, that weakens your hips significantly, or at least weakens your kick by turning your hips 90 degrees in the middle of a kick. So you got to watch for that one. So there's a bunch of reasons why your kick is not working, and those could be all of them. So my advice, send me a video. Let me see what it looks like. And I can tell you a little more specifically of what that problem is, but you need to go to those 2 articles on fixing your streamline and fixing your kick. How to get faster with fins, more volume. Make sure you're swimming properly. You need fins to be powered from the hips, not like you're riding a bicycle. So one thing, send me a video. I can tell real quick if you're getting any power, because if it looks like you're riding a bicycle wearing fins, you're about 50% power. You got to get those hips in there, get some flutter kicks. You can slightly bend your knees, but you don't want to look like you're riding a bike. But volume is not necessarily the answer. I don't think you need to swim with fins every day. Some people do. I think you should. Some people think you should swim with fins at nothing. Not at all. But we swim with fins on leg days. Work your legs, work your squats, work your lunges, work your jumping lunges, your step ups. Do some B step warm ups. Google the term B step dynamic stretch. And that's basically a scissor kick. You can practice some of that on land as well. You guys are doing real well with questions. A lot of them today. I appreciate it. Thank you, Stu. I up my calories trying to maintain strength while getting faster. That's the hardest balance for me personally. It's the hardest balance for everybody. That's why we usually cycle through it. Like if we're trying to get faster on running, we're not doing a lot of heavy lifting. When I say faster, I don't mean sprints. I mean timed runs, longer distances. When we're trying to get stronger, we will run a little less. I'm currently prepping for ITC, and there's a 2K open water ocean swim requirement in under an hour while pushing 45-pound pack. How do you recommend to get faster at finning? It's all finning. My advice is we used to push the pack and we used to drag the pack too. So one, you want to make sure your pack is floating, right? Make sure it's positively buoyant. They'll teach you how to do that. And then it's a power drill, because you're not very streamlined, so you just have to get good at kicking. Something we would do is some side stroke kicking, and we do some turtleback kicking. Lay on your back and do flutter kicks, lay on your side, do flutter kicks. Arms aren't really moving. They're just, holding on to something. If you want to practice, I would say the 2 strokes you need to practice are called the lead arm, trail arm side stroke and the turtleback kick. So my advice is this. Try lead arm, trail arm for 3 links, and then do a 25 turtleback every 100. So that's kind of your rest. So you don't ever rest. You're basically resting with a turtleback, which is on your back, flutter kicking. Make sure you don't hit the wall. But yeah, 75 lead arm, trail arm. You can Google it. It's just basically, it's like side stroke without using your arms. And then go 25 on your back and just do that for 2,000, 3,000, if you really want to work those legs. But yeah, you should be able to do that for 45 minutes to an hour pretty easily. It's a great leg day, I will tell you. In your PT club program, do you also help with nutrition side when it comes to working out, like figuring out how to lose weight? I'm not a nutritionist. However, what I do with folks is we do a diary, a food diary for a week, sometimes 2 weeks. We take a look at what you're eating, when you're eating it, how much you're eating, and that in turn will say it'll show some leaks. It's like, for instance, if you're taking a spoonful of peanut butter every couple of hours, it's like 800 extra calories in a day, which you're not going to lose weight with that. You'll gain weight. It's a way to gain weight, but not the best way to lose weight. So we can take a look at that. I see what you like to eat, maybe recommend a few other approaches as far as food intake, or tell you, like, take that out, take that out. You don't need that anymore. Let's replace it with something else. So, yeah. My advice is get a nutrition book, or talk to a nutritionist. There's a lot of them out there. The fact that you come here and give this advice and have us DM you to help us is so valuable. Well, thank you. I think I speak for many when I say thank you. You are a blessing. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I enjoy this. I'm a coach. I enjoy coaching. I coach a lot of people locally, and if I can keep doing it more and it helps people, that's why we do it. Any advice for treading with dive bricks? Yeah, get good at treading, period, and slowly start to add weight. Something we do is we'll have bricks, get in a circle with guys and just trade it back and forth. Another way to do that, if it's just you, get a brick, tread for 30 seconds, put it on the wall. Tread without it for 30 seconds, grab it, do it again. So every 30 seconds, you hold it for 30 seconds. That's a great way to start preparing for it. You just got to get in shape for it. Once you you got to know how to tread. So there's some technique to it, as well as some mobility issues that a lot of people have. Because if your hip, knees, and ankles are tight, you're not getting a good range of motion on creating downward force vectors that keep you going up. And here's the problem. Like, a lot of people think treading's easy, and they're usually a little overweight. So if you're a little chubbier going in there and you're treading, like, oh, this is easy. I said, well, here's the problem. You're not treading, you're floating, right? And then when you add weight to it, now you got to finally tread. And that's an eye-opening experience. I promise you. And I've seen a lot of people think that treading's easy because they're a little chunky. And next thing you know, you add weight, and then they realize they weren't treading. They were just floating there, laughing at people struggling because they're leaner, and treading sucks. As long as you know treading sucks, you're in the right mindset, whether you're adding weight or not. I can only do 1 minute without fins scissor kicking. Got to work on it. Have you ever read my article on treading and mobility? You should, because this is going to help you. In fact, you can even practice this, while you're going through boot camp. Check this out. Here's the article. It's called Treading Might Be a Mobility Issue. Try these movements. I'll put it over here on YouTube as well. But I have some treading videos over here on YouTube that should be helpful for you. Check those out. If you have a circumstance where you miss a week of training, how much progress is lost? Not much. I mean, it's minimal, but if you do it for 2 weeks, it can take a month to get back to where you were. But a week, it's not going to kill you. You might feel weak, but you're not, right? You might be sore after you work out again for a day or two, but that's normal. How do you think running correlates with rucking? I've seen many good runners struggle with a ruck on their back. I've also seen good ruckers who aren't fast runners. You know what? That is a true statement. I've seen it myself. But I've also seen guys great with running that are great with rucking. So Go figure. I think it's this. If you're a little skinny guy and you run well, you may not ruck well if you don't have some core and posterior chain leg development, right? Because that is all load bearing issue is what a skinnier person has, right? However, if you're a big guy, it's going to be harder to run, period. Because you're just carrying around more stuff than everybody else. But it doesn't mean you can't run. I've seen guys who are 230 cranking out 18-minute 3-milers, 6-minute miles, easy day. Pretty nuts. um, so the thing is one will be a strength and one will be a weakness to most people. And you just have to not, um, what's a good word for it? Not, not miss out on training that weakness. Like you can't skip it. Like you can't skip a ruck and go for a run if you're a good runner, right? You got to do that ruck. And usually what we do is we ruck and swim with fins on leg days. And depending on which one you are worse at doing, that's the one you do. Would you say dolphin kicking is a necessary skill for the CSS? I do not. Some people like it. Some people like dolphin kicking in between scissor kicks, but I will tell you this, unless you spent a lifetime doing butterfly with dolphin kicks, you probably suck at dolphin kicks and you're not helping yourself. Now, with a pair of fins on, it's kind of easy to dolphin kick. Some people do that. I've seen guys that are great swimmers just dolphin kick that whole 2-miler. It's an option. Not the one I preferred. I always prefer either scissor kick glides or little flutter kicks. And I'll tell you why is that if you're doing a dolphin kick and trying to glide, but you're going against the current, chances are you're not gliding after that dolphin kick. You just kind of stop, right? But if you're going with the current, a dolphin kick and a glide works really well. Same for me when I do a scissor kick and hold a glide. I use that when I'm going with the current, but when I'm doing flutter kicks, that's my power move and I go against the current. Let's see. Thanks for everything. I leave at OCS at end of May. Hey, good luck. That should be fun. Marine Corps OCS is no joke. Going to be a good little PT run ruck cycle. Yeah, loosen those hips up. I've had some hip pain over the years, and it's all, for me, it has been a mobility flexibility issue. So get online and look up as many hip and hip mobility, flexibility, and strengthening exercises because you may need all three. With access to an above ground pool and a pool tether, any exercise you recommend I do until I'm able to find a longer, deeper pool? Is this enough to learn the CSS? Yeah, you can do that. Absolutely. During COVID when we lost our pool, my neighbor had a pool and they would let me use it, and I had one of those pool tethers, and that was awesome. It was a lot of fun. I got tired of it after a while, and I was like, I'm ready for a real pool. Luckily, summer came and we were doing open water swimming after that. But yeah, I would say it's enough. You might not be able to get a glide out of it, but it doesn't matter. As long as you practice those movements of really locking out those arms and look like a torpedo and not a plow, you should be good to go. All right, I got a lot of questions over here on YouTube. Let me see what I can do here. Is 6 miles, 45-pound ruck, and 118 good? Yes, it's very good. Oop. How good does rucking carry over into regular mile and a half? I mean, it carries some. It's like an aerobic base training, I would call it. Some leg durability training, but it may not carry over to pace and speed. You're going to have to practice moving your legs at that pace to get better at that pace. But yeah, 6 miles in an hour 20, that's really good. Yeah, not bad. I'd put it at a like good high average. Because I would say this, most people are doing 6 miles in an hour and a half. So you're about 12 minutes faster. So that's good. Any experience with sternum rib cage inflammation? Able to complete most pain free, but certain stretches and dips cause popping and pain. The only kind of inflammation I've ever experienced, not me personally, but people I've known, is costochondritis. Have you seen that? Is that what you're talking about? Basically, it's just the ribs are getting inflamed and it hurts. Some people even think it's a heart attack. Um, it can hurt so much, especially right there in the middle of the sternum. So anti-inflammatories help with that. You got to take some Motrin or ibuprofen to help with that. That's about the only thing I've ever seen that really works. Can confirm. Fix your kick article and drill are great. I personally have a kickboard, so I would do it without one and just roll. Oh, I didn't personally have a kickboard. So you do it without one and just roll to breathe. I think there's an old video article inspired. Yeah, I've written a couple articles about kickboard drills, kick and glide drills. Um, it does work. Just got to practice it. Let's see. Besides the physical academic portion, what's other tests like knot tying do I need to know beforehand to make sure you're squared away? I mean, there's land nav, there's dive physics, dive medicine. I mean, there's explosives. There's just general memorization of parts of a weapon system, radios, all that stuff. So it's mostly memorization, to be honest with you. But there's some knowledge, life saving you have to do. Land nav, if I didn't say it. Yeah. Also, just making sure I have the right knots. Square knot, bowline, clove hitch, Beckett's bend, right angle. Yeah. Did you see my recent video? I posted a video up on Instagram. I'll probably post it up on YouTube as well. But it's the 5 knots. I think it's a pretty useful tool. So check it out. And I show how I tie it. Still struggling with treading, no hands. I sink straight to the bottom with lungs full. Yep, I would say you're negative. Longest I can go is about 45 seconds. I've been doing your tread stretch routine. Well, it usually takes about 3 or 4 weeks before you actually build the mobility you need to actually improve your treading. Does that make sense? How long you been doing it is my next question. Um, and are you noticing mobility increases? I mean, you could be doing it wrong too. So put it this way, if you're trying to learn the egg beater, I didn't know the egg beater until I was 3 years in the teams. So I got through buds with scissor kicking and little flutter kicks when I needed. So it's not needed. I just now, in hindsight, wish I'd have known it because it's very helpful now. When I still do like 10-minute treads with the guys, I'm going back and forth. I'm doing some egg beater for a minute, do some scissor kicks, and it just breaks up the muscles, gives me a system to get through it. What's the PFT for a 10-minute kettlebell snatch? It's in the Secret Service. Not sure if it's a direct fitness test. It's not part of their entry exam, but while you're going through the academy, you will definitely do that one. Running on sand or road to build endurance. Asking, since I have access to a beach now, would you recommend both? Yes. Put it this way, our runs look like this week specifically. Today we ran on a paved trail. Tomorrow we will run a hill that is a paved road. But along that way, it's like 2 miles just to get to this hill. You can opt to run on grass, which is right next to it. Thursday we'll run on a track, and then on Friday we'll run on the beach. So there you go. What's the temp for your open water swims? Well, right now it is about 55 degrees and it's chilly. We had guys in the water without wetsuits for about 1,000 meters. Took them about 15 minutes, 16 minutes to get that done. And then we had guys in the water with wetsuits for 2,000 meters. That was my rule. I said, if you're going to swim without a wetsuit, limit it to less than 20 minutes. And if you're swimming with a wetsuit for now, since it's your first time in there this season, let's just limit it to 30 minutes. Most of the guys got out in 15. Not because they were cold, just because they were done. Yes, costochondritis. Able to do bench, push-ups, pain-free, and do tons of stretching, mobility before workouts. Still occasionally aggravate it. Mornings are tight. Any fixes or strengthening? Not that I know of. The only reason I know of it is my wife has it, and she takes Motrin, and there are some stretches she likes to do, but it's usually a rotation, a twist, uh, arm reaching up, you know, rotating through, and just moving those ribs around is helpful. But she does it with anti-inflammatories. Um, could be something you eat too, so make sure you're getting foods that have like omega-3s in it, which helps with inflammation. Um, Antioxidants, proteins, can definitely help with inflammation as well. Oh, let's see. Ace do complex question. I'm a quitter. When it gets hard, especially after I joined the swim team, some days there wasn't $1 million that could get me to get in the pool. Going to selection in a few months. How would I stop this quitter mindset? I'd stand and sit and talk to a wall myself saying, I don't want to do this. You know what? Here's the deal. We all grow up at some point and we realize we don't want to quit anymore. Right? So the fact that you have quit, instead of using this as a crutch, use it as something that you can draw on and like remember how you felt after you didn't go to swim that day or you quit something. It sucks. Like my story is, I had all my best friends were on the baseball team. And I'd played baseball with them since I was 8 years old. Oh, yeah. And as I got into high school, I played my freshman year, played my sophomore year, and however, as I started getting better at football and lifting, and I was a power lifter on the with football, and I loved it. I liked baseball, and in hindsight, I love baseball. I love baseball, watching baseball all the time. So, but I started playing my junior year, and then one I realized I just sucked because I just got through doing powerlifter season instead of wrestling, um, and I couldn't throw a ball anymore. And it was just I just did not know how to be a strong baseball player. So anyway, I actually quit my junior year before the game started, but um, kind of like with tryouts and stuff. And I just remember it was more not that I quit playing baseball, it's just I quit my friends. Um, And they were pissed at me, but they understood also, they're buddies. We still went out and had fun. I just didn't play baseball with them anymore. And um, hindsight, wish I hadn't quit. But at the same time, can't do anything about it. But I do know how I felt after quitting, and it sucked. And I never did that again. Right. And when I was at the academy, there were some really hard times when I was failing and not doing well and didn't make the football team. And, girlfriend breaks up with you. And, just the whole world's falling apart as an 18-year-old kid trying to go through something that's hard. And, I I couldn't quit. I had to figure it out. So don't let it beat you up. Use it as one of those moments that's going to make you stronger, right? Because all you have to do is remember how you felt after you quit something, and you won't ever want to do it again. Funny you mentioned that because I am actually writing a book called The Never Quit Mindset. Probably going to be done with it here. I'm done with it, but I got some editors that are beating me up a little bit. I got to fix some things in it, explain things a little better, I think, because I'm getting a little bit, physiology, psychology, it's grit, it's hard to kind of verbalize some of that stuff. But that should be out. It's going to be out this month. Whether or not it's this week or next week, I'm not 100% sure. But I'll let you know. How's that help, Dylan? Does that help at all? Can you become a Black Hawk pilot without a college degree? Yes. In the Army, there is a warrant officer program that we had a couple of guys from my high school do that. And they were warrant officers before I was finished with the academy, flying helicopters. And I was still sitting in leadership classes at the academy. So you can do it as a young kid too. It's called the Warrant Officer Pilot Program. Check it out. How important is it to be able to see underwater without goggles and buds? I mean, not that important. I mean, you need to be able to open your eyes underwater and see where you are, but you don't have to distinguish anything under there. Yeah, so Dylan, use that. Use that as a superpower, not as a crutch. And I'm telling you, it will work for you. Because here's the deal. If you're leaving for selection soon, there's not a whole lot more you can do. Let's say you're leaving in a couple of weeks, right? There's not enough time to get faster, not enough time to get stronger. Might be able to get a little smarter on something, but that's it, right? But I will tell you this, when you're starting to go through it, you know, you can get tougher, and you can draw on all of your preparation, draw on why you decided to do this in the first place, and that can make you tougher, period. Say a few curse words, might make you tougher. There you go. How's that for a pep talk? All right, couple more questions. I got to go. Should I be aiming for a different ratio of carbs to protein when losing weight, but also making sure I'm not losing what muscle? Yeah, you need everything: carbs, protein, fats. Just you know, the percentage of that is kind of individual, but at the end of the day, it really comes down to how many calories you're bringing in, how many calories you're bringing out. That's why I always recommend talk to a nutritionist, because they're going to make something a little more personalized for you. At best, I'm going to come up with a general program that may work for you. Um, but a nutritionist is going to make sure that if you're restricting calories, that you're getting all the right nutrients that you need for one, energy to train and to stay healthy and keep your immune system up. There's a lot that goes into nutrition. So, if you're really worried about this, either get yourself a nutrition book if you want to go cheap, or hire a nutritionist. dietitian to really help you. All right, last question. What are some common mistakes you see people training to be a Navy SEAL or in general? What are some ways to identify and avoid it? All right, real easy. They neglect their weakness, period. Just like we talked earlier in a previous question, if you were a non-athlete or an athlete, um, how would you train differently? Where people screw up, no matter what their background, is they neglect their weakness and they just avoid it, or they think it's easy and they don't need to practice it. Prime example, 18-year-old Stu Smith thought sit-ups were easy, didn't need to practice them, you know, didn't time them, show up at the academy, fail my first sit-ups test. Why? Because I just sprinted it like an idiot, thought I could last for 2 minutes cranking out, 40 every 30 seconds. Next thing I know, I couldn't even get 60 in 2 minutes and just died at 40. I was able to get like 58 or something like that. 2 off from bare minimum passing. No, I think you had to get 65. So yeah, I wasn't even that close to passing. So it's that, so it's the weakness, right? And if you're not doing your research and understanding what you're about to get into, you're going to be doing 4-mile runs and 2-mile swims, and you're going to be under a boat and a log, so you need some strength, you need some endurance, you need more than just that PST. That's where most people screw up. Most people train for buds by just doing the PST, and they're not doing longer runs, longer swims, load bearing drills, rucking, pool skills. They're not doing it, and it just screws you up. That how you avoid it? Assess yourself. Assess yourself in every single thing. In fact, I have a great assessment tool. You guys have probably seen it. It's got a video in there where we discuss a lot of the topics, typical assessments we like to do. But yeah, check that out. All right, last thing, funny thing from a retired Royal Marine on the quick guy. You'll have limitless mental reserve once you tap into it, and it's just much harder to obtain. Yeah, I would agree. What's the oldest you can be before going into a warrant officer program? I have no idea. That's something you need to Google, Sebastian. I am not all things military spec ops Google. I rely on Google for these type of questions. So that's what I would recommend you do. All right, folks, I got to go. I will check you guys out tomorrow. We'll do some CSS videos. Send me some videos. You want me to critique them? And happy to do that. You guys check out StuSmithFitness.com. Use the Live15 coupon code. Save yourself 15% on any programs over there. I appreciate your time and great questions. I appreciate it. I probably used one of them as an article this week. So once again, thanks. You guys have a good one.